Greetings to all you management scholars out there. I'm Dr. T, and we are doing our very first chapter spotlight. If you recall, the purpose of these spotlight videos, I'll do one for every chapter. It's really just to cover the high points of a chapter, those things that I consider to be more important than others. It's all important, quite honestly, but I boil it down to the things that I think are most important for you to retain as a management scholar. It is a Sunday afternoon, and yes, you probably can barely see it, so let me make sure you can see it. I am rocking the Flying Elvis. Go Patriots! Kickoff is in about 2 hours. And so, hey, once again, don't hate. I told you right up front, I'm a Patriots fan, Red Sox, you name it. Those are my teams. I'm loyal to the soil of Boston. But anyway, back into the spotlight. Sorry for that. Sorry, I lost focus for a second. All right, but listen. But the point of these spotlight videos is to cover the highlights, as I mentioned, and it's not intended to be a 30 or 45 or an hour-long lecture. It's just to capture the high points. So let's just start right off by defining some very key terms for our class. The first one is an organization. What is an organization? We hear this word often, organization. And so an organization is a group of people who work together to achieve some specific purpose. So that's the definition. A group of people, quite honestly, could be two or more. If you have two people working together to achieve a common purpose, that could be considered an organization. And as managers, there's just a wide range of organizations that managers work in, operate in, lead in, and these are, large companies. Think about IBM, think about Nike, think about McDonald's, think about Coca-Cola. Global organizations, and those are U.S.-based companies for the most part. But think about like Mercedes, BMW, internationally. So these things apply not just in the U.S. but globally. You've got for-profit organizations, non-profit organizations, governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, medium, small, I mean, you name it. These are all types of organizations that managers operate within. When it comes to management, I really want to highlight this one first, that when you become a manager, now at this point, it's not just all about what you can do and your specific skills. Now your report card, if you will, you're being evaluated, you're being assessed on how you get other people to do the work. That's what management's all about. And so the ultimate goal is that you want to integrate the work of people so that they are as efficient as possible and as effective as possible. Now, if this was an in-person class, we would have a discussion about, I would want to hear your thoughts or your feedback about what do you think the difference is between efficiency and effectiveness. And so efficiently is doing something quickly, if you will. Effectively is doing something very well. And the two, like, really, if you want to be the very best organization you can, you want the processes, the people, the use of resources to be as efficient and as effective as possible for the output, be it a product, be it a service, whatever it happens to be. But let's just say you focus so much on efficiency that your team is only designed to effectively produce 100 widgets, making up an item here, a month. That's what your max, it's the most they can do to do them well. And let's just say, well, you want to be more profitable, you don't want to raise costs, so you're not going to hire more people. And now you say, hey, I want you all to make 200 of these a month. And they might look at you with surprise because they know 100 is the maximum they can do, and it's still a quality product at the end. So, okay, so you can crank up the efficiency, do it faster, do it faster, do it faster, but the quality might suffer because you're not going to be as effective putting them together. So the goal is to be efficient and effective. And then this is the first time we're going to be introduced to kind of the framework of our course, and it's the management process that includes planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, which is very easy to remember by this acronym POLC. All right, so the art of management defined. The great thing about management is that it's a skill. I know it says art here, the art of management. Art, I guess you could say, is a skill as well. I'm a terrible artist, but when I go to these like sip and paints, there's an instructor there, there's a coach there who will coach me through how to do these certain things, and actually I improve in it. Think about management like that. Maybe if you're a manager right now and you don't think you're the best manager, well, I've got good news for you. Management are skills, it's an art that can be improved. And that's one of the goals of this class, is not only for you all to learn this information, but for each and every one of you to become a better manager yourself. Once again, you know, you're being viewed, your leaders, if you're a manager, you're being viewed by your ability to get other people to do things. And so these are some very important things to keep in mind about being a manager. You may ask, like, what's the point of studying management? There's a lot of payoffs about just studying management. If you're in an organization, when you study management, you're going to have a better idea about how your organization works. You're going to get a little peek behind the curtain. Now when you go to work and you understand the principles of management a little bit, the planning, the organizing, the leading, the controlling, now you can kind of hold your own managers more accountable because you understand what should be happening in your organization. So you're going to have more experience, knowledge from the experience of how you relate to your supervisors. You should be able to relate to your coworkers a little bit better. Nobody, keep this gold nugget in mind, nobody is a better career manager for you than you. And so you're going to learn how to manage your own career a little bit. And then, of course, this is such a good thing, right? Maybe you're not driven by money, but making a little more money might not be a bad thing, especially in this economy, as we hear over and over again. And so, okay, so that's great. So learning something is really important. But now we're going to take you from learning about it to practicing it, putting it into practice. And let's just say I love woodworking. I watched this TV show like the Yankee Workshop where this guy can make the most incredible things from a block of wood. And he cuts it and saws it and smooths it down. And next thing you know, you've got like this beautiful table or this like cabinet or something like that. Well, I can watch these shows all day and I can learn about using this tool and that tool and how to square something and how to plane it so it's the same thickness throughout. This is all great, but I will never become a carpenter or be able to match what that person's doing unless I actually practice it and try. Well, the good news is you're going to, of course, make mistakes, and the best managers learn from their mistakes so they can get better and better. And so I want to highlight this one thing. There's several on here, but typically when you see something in red, it's what I really want you to focus on. When you practice management, you set yourself up to be questioned, to be ridiculed, because listen, everyone is a backseat driver. Everyone who you're leading or managing, and listen, not all your employees or team members are going to be this way, but a lot of them will sit back because they're not in charge, they're not the manager. They're going to think, oh, I would have done it this way. Oh, so-and-so, you should have done it this way. They're all going to have a better idea than you do, but you're the one on the line. And so it's a challenge to be a manager. Leadership is a challenge, but it comes with so many great rewards, especially if you really care about your team members and you care about the people in your organization. But let's say you set this really high goal and your team rallies together, you motivate them, you inspire them, you coach them, you lead them to accomplish this goal. You will have such a great sense of accomplishment that together you and your team did this great thing. So that's probably, at least to me and from my experiences, that is the most rewarding part of being a leader, being a manager, is when you accomplish a goal that was so difficult, it gives you such a great sense of accomplishment. All right, so once again, this is the management process. Now, this is just a very high-level overview of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. This figure makes it look like it's a direct line between these, but it's a little more nuanced than that. In other words, like there could be lines drawn between some of these functions. It's not always quite circular like this. Although some would argue like it's got to start with the plan, right? And then you organize, you lead, you control. Controlling is where you measure things, and if it's the processes aren't happening the way that you anticipated, you can make some changes and then reset your plan and then go from there. But we're going to cover these in more detail as we go further in the semester and the various chapters that lie ahead. There's two different types of managers. You've got something called a functional manager versus a general manager. So again, I'm a sports fan, and I will use sports and other things along the way to highlight some of the lessons here. But a functional manager focuses on a more narrow list of things, so to speak. It's more short-term view of the organization. And so I have a picture of Alex Cora, who's the team manager for the Boston Red Sox. He would be considered a functional manager. He is setting the lineup every day, the batting order, who's going to be the starting pitcher. Within the game, he's going to decide, okay, the starting pitcher's running out of gas. Let me put in a reliever. Do I put in a lefty? Do I put in a righty? These are all functional things within the game. The Red Sox also have a general manager, a gentleman by the name of Craig Breslow. He is looking at a much bigger picture. He's looking at all the players' contracts. He's looking at who might become a free agent, what other players are out there that could make this team a little bit better. And so they work together to hopefully make the best team possible. But this is a more narrow focus as a functional manager, and a general manager is taking a much bigger strategic level view of the organization. And we're going to wrap things up here finally by talking about the 3 skills that exceptional managers need. If you remember in my course introduction, I highlighted the 3 leaders who shaped my life. Now listen, I don't want to just say that these 3 leaders only possessed each of these skills that I aligned with them, because here in the next slide I'll explain a little bit more, but I think these were their strongest for each 3. So Elke Leeds here, her mind was like a computer. She could take very complex information, data, numbers on a spreadsheet, and she could figure it out and explain to the group what it really means. And so she was awesome at that. General Brooks here, he had I called it a 20-pound brain. He could just have these ideas and these concepts. And once again, he could explain these very complex conceptual things in a way that everybody could understand. And then when it comes to people skills or human skills, nobody beats General Abe Turner, the gentleman right here. He could relate to anybody, from when he served as Madeleine Albright's military liaison when she was the United States Secretary of State. So he was dealing with cabinet level leaders and could relate with her, talk with her, and he could also talk to privates graduating from basic training. So from junior folks all the way up to the senior leaders of our country. He had the ability to relate to them, to interact with them, to laugh. I just love this picture here because humor was a big part of his, and laughter was a big part of his dealing with people. And it was just awesome. And so we're going to wrap it up here. I want to encourage you that the 3 leaders that I showed you are very rare leaders because they have very high levels of all 3 of these skills: technical, conceptual, and human skills. What I want to say to you is, if you're able to master any 2 of these, technical and conceptual, conceptual and human, human and technical, if you can master 2 of these, you're going to be doing really good in life. You're going to be a really good manager. I believe that. It's very rare for folks to master all 3 of these. It's just not how our brains are wired. You might just be like a technical person, and maybe you're going to be a little bit weaker on the human skills. But once again, these skills are things in life that can be improved upon. So if you're not the best at human skills, it's okay. You can improve them. You may never be a General Turner in the way you relate with people or deal with people, but you can improve them. Same with technical skills and same with conceptual skills. All 3 are important. Okay, well listen, that's going to wrap up our very first chapter, Spotlight. If you have any questions about anything, about the content, about our class, about the coursework, once again, please don't struggle with it. Please reach out to me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your feedback. Have a great day, and we will check in next time with the Chapter 3 Spotlight videos. Go Nighthawks.